So, you like FNaF, right? I mean, I'd be surprised if you didn't, considering the stuff I do on my channel, but I digress. FNaF has definitely been around for quite some time. Hell, in August, it'll be 8 years since the first game was released. It definitely helped shape the point-and-click, survival, and indie horror game genres as a whole. It's extremely popular, to no surprise, and has practically been played, or at least seen, by everyone at this point. It's made a name for itself and has left its mark on history as one of the greatest indie horror games of all time. But, as of recent, the series has kind of been having a lot of controversies. One of the fan-first devs, Phil Morg, leaving the community while flipping off Scott Cawthon on his way out, to the release of Security Breach and the direction it's taking the series as a whole, to even the developer of FNaF, Jonathan, being outed as a groomer. It's been strange to be involved with the community recently, with drama and the sort around every corner. From what I've been seeing, old fans and new fans who have discovered the series through Security Breach have also been at war. People even sending death threats over timeline differences. I just feel like I need a break from mainline content. And what better way to do so than to scour Game Jolt for FNaF Fangames and other related projects? I mean, you read the title, what did you think the video is going to be about, herpes? Most of the more popular fan games have already been heavily discussed, with household names such as Popgoes, Five Nights at Candy's, Jolly, and Treasure Island all being heavily recognizable to most people in the fandom. Of course, that means there's already been tons of videos talking about these games. I don't even want to sound like a broken record and saying things like, man, this is really well done, or man, I really like this game because there's genuine effort put into it, and it's surprising how high quality it is considering it's done by a most small team of people, and, at least, one person on the computer putting their programming, modeling, and animating skills to the test. I mean, a lot of effort goes into getting these projects off the ground. I've even tried to make fan games in the past. Trust me, it is no cakewalk. But it is at least admirable and inspiring to see these projects get released. But what about the weirder ones? The ones that took time, effort, and the developer's soul to make, but no one ever really talks about. I've given these fan games, at least for the sake of brevity, the title of Oddities. Not exactly weird fan games in premise, gameplay, or graphics, but strange in the fact that no one ever really talks about or bats an eye to them. Well, that's what I'm here to discuss today. I picked a myriad of games, 5 games to be exact, completely at random to present to the world as some of the best and possibly worst this category has to offer. The games I picked for this series are as follows: Yap and Yell, Jerry's Tale, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Orders, Abandoned Nights at Freddy's, and The Abomination of Freddy's. I hope to do these games justice by giving them a proper time in the spotlight and my honest review of each. Before we begin though, I'd like to say that a lot of things I'll discuss are my opinion, and, as a functioning human being that isn't a mindless follower that will always agree with the most popular opinion, you're free to come up with your own as well. As the idiom goes, take everything I say with an empty animatronic suit's worth of salt. Even though I would consider myself a veteran of the FNaF series, I wouldn't consider myself well-versed in the fan game scene. Although I am thinking about making a video of Juniors when that releases, until then, this is one of the only fan game projects I'll be doing. Also, please have sympathy for me. This is the first video I'm making in this sort of game review style that you've probably seen before. If it sounds like I'm stealing any style of video from any YouTuber, I sincerely apologize. With that being said, let's begin, shall we? Yap and Yell was released on March 28, 2022 by Miles Games, a seemingly one-man operation. This game appears to take inspiration from the more classic FNaF games, specifically 1 through 4. The first 4 FNaF games will always have a special place in my heart. There's always just a certain charm to them that you really can't find anymore in more recent games. Now, it goes without saying that doesn't mean it makes the newer games bad, of course, but I feel like things such as the 720p aspect ratio, certain renders of the characters that are just posed so well, or even lighting choices of some of the games that make them look genuinely terrifying, you can tell Scott had a lot of fun making them. All of these things just take me back to 2014 when I first discovered the series through Markiplier's Let's Play animations. Well, if you're missing that sort of charm from the earlier FNaF entries, then boy have I got a game that'll scratch that itch better than your cat's fingernails. Unless you don't have a cat, of course. Yap and Yell, as I stated, takes heavy inspiration from the first 4 FNaF games, and boy does it show. From character designs to lighting to animation, it all just reeks of that late 2014 style that Miles, as he states in the interview I'll talk about later, was going for. The graphics in this game genuinely look really good. It feels like something Scott could have actually made. If you were to tell me this was one of the first FNaF fan games ever made, I think I would have believed you. Of course, until I look at the release date. On a side note, I also really like the designs for the animatronics. They are surely one of the highlights of this game. From the playful nature of Yip to the more childlike design of Baba, I just feel like they all fit in really well together. So the graphics are good, but what about the gameplay? Well, it is definitely something.
I'm fast. I'm so fast.
You're placed inside an office with 2 windows and doors on each side, some plushies and posters to decorate the place, and a simple desk. Although the presentation and design of the office is massively different from FNaF 1 Office, it's quite obvious that it mimics the same basic elements of FNaF 1 Office, which is a nice callback. I feel like some offices in fan games and official FNaF games just feel a bit too crowded. Take UCN's office, for example. It feels like there's too much to look at, which can potentially disorient the player. Sometimes it's nice to keep it simple but effective. Anyways, you have 4 animatronics to defend from, and a secret 5th one I'll get into later. The first one is Yap. Yap's mechanic is pretty simple. She'll start at one of the 2 hallways that lead to her office. Eventually, though, she'll slowly make her way towards you until she comes through one of the 2 aforementioned doors. If you use a flash beacon when she enters the office, she will exit and start in whatever hallway was opposite where she started before. Yap's mechanic is a bit more unique than Yap's, but it's still fairly simple. She starts in the prize room behind the counter. Eventually, though, she will come out from behind the counter on her hands and feet while facing one of 2 directions that correlate with what door you'll have to shut. Although only one door can be shut at a time. If she's facing the right, but you have the left door closed, then you better have some quick reflexes because she will quickly crawl across the window correspondent with whatever direction she was facing prior. Baba will climb. Baba is one of the 2 characters that don't have mechanics that use the doors. Baba will climb the side of the vent that leads to your office, which is hidden out of view. When you hear the sound of her banging, you have to hold your mouse over the pull chain to close the vent and keep her out. Valerie is definitely one of the more mysterious animatronics and the other of the 2 characters that don't use doors. For Valerie, you have to wait until she wakes up on her respective camera, and you have to shock her and make her deactivate again. When you aren't looking at her camera, or really whenever, when she wakes up, you'll hear a where the fuck that is. And you have to go to her camera to shock her. I think all these mechanics play off each other pretty well. Doing all these tasks can be really stressful, but also sort of functions as a build-up, which is needed more. That rising tension you feel as you have to fend off each animatronic until the release of when you slip up and one of them kills you. I would argue that this is something that the original FNaF games had as well, which also makes sense. There are 2 animatronics I'm forgetting. Before I introduce them, though, I need to give a bit of context.
Look at this scoundrel. Look at this little scallywag, this little devious guy. What is he doing? What is he doing?
Nights 1 to 5 are pretty much the same gameplay-wise besides characters being added each night. But in between nights you get these minigames that help explain the story, but I'll elaborate on those later. There's also a sort of fun with plush trap mode that you play before each night. In this minigame you are situated in Yip's gift shop where you have to help her find one of the plushies that are for sale as it moves around the room. What plush are you looking for exactly? Well, it's this monstrosity, of course. It's only referred to as the doll in the extras menu, but boy howdy was I ever caught off guard by this creature and its 50 rows of teeth. Some other aspects of this design that really sell it for me horror-wise is the stitched-together vibe she gives off. The bear-like head with a dead-eyed face and bear-like torso mismatched with these red segmented arms really make her feel like something out of Coraline. You have to get her on the countertop by turning on and off your flashlight to beat the game, but if you don't, you'll probably die. Alright, now for the last character. After Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex closes down, Fazbear Entertainment collaborates with an unspecified company, and together they make a store called Yap's Hypermart. The store aims to provide goods to the public and entertain kids and adults alike. The animatronics in the store are, in fact, built with the parts from the original animatronics from the last Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, probably to cut cost. Fazbear Entertainment hires a girl named Vanny to help build the animatronics. While there, she assisted with the creation of the animatronics and even created one of her own named Valerie. Although, she never let it slip that she was one of the key factors that led to the closing of Fazbear Entertainment's last location. One day, with whatever means used, she rebinds the souls of Jeremy, Fritz, Susie, and Gabriel to the Yap animatronics. In this process, she also unknowingly releases Cassidy, also known as the Vengeful Spirit, from the afterlife. The animatronics begin to go haywire due to the souls inside of them, and Fazbear Entertainment suspects that the animatronics have been tampered with. To prove or to disprove this suspicion, they hire someone named Greg Sprinter, who may or may not be Gregory from FNaF Security Breach. When I asked Miles, he just gave me a really cryptic answer, so I don't really know, to be one of the night guards for the store. Fazbear Entertainment, never learning their lesson, make the uniforms for the night guards purple. At night, when the animatronics see this, they suspect that Greg is in fact William back from the dead once again to wreak havoc. They begin attempting to attack Greg, but as we see in the game, Greg's too good of a gamer to be killed by semi-attractive dog and cat animatronics. While this is going on, Cassidy is in the background as a shadow version of Yap, similar to the Springlock victims that died long before she did. She waits for her time to strike, to finally put everything to rest until... The Yelling Soul, or Yell, which is what I'll call her for the remainder of this review, is the only character active tonight, but boy, she is one tricky bitch. She's basically every other character. The only teeny tiny difference between her and nearly every other character is that she can teleport at will and basically enter your office whenever she feels like it. She can also use any of the mechanics I mentioned prior against you. To put it more simply, she has the same general idea as Hourglass from Treasure Island. She can use Yap's mechanic, Yip's mechanic, Babad's mechanic, and even Val's mechanic. I love the way this idea is executed in both this game and Treasure Island. It's such a cool concept that I don't really see often. The idea that you have to use everything you've learned up to this point to defend yourself makes these types of characters really feel like boss fights in more traditional games. The only other time I've really seen this idea executed is Circus Baby's Diner with Ennard in that game. I think anyone even remembers Circus Baby's Diner. But after Night Edelin, or Eidolon, which I couldn't beat because I'm a goddamn loser, you see a newspaper that describes the fact that after Night 6, Greg, the night guard we've been playing as, began to be haunted by Yell, seeing visions of her everywhere. This eventually led to him going practically insane and him being sent out to God knows where. As always, Fazbear Entertainment, or Yaps Entertainment now, publicly discloses this along with the owner, who I think is implied to be Vanny, seeing that she didn't know what happened, which I call bullshit on considering that this is Fazbear Entertainment we're talking about. Anyways. After Night 5, you unlock the Extras menu. Yay! But honestly, this is a really nice touch. There's so much stuff to have your slime-covered eyeballs be graced with. You get to have a closer look at all the intentional and unintentional murderers, the murders they commit on you. You get a look in each piss-starting room, including the Gamer Dungeon where you play League of Legends in the game, and even some behind-the-scenes content. As always, even though it's pretty much the standard for Fangames to have all this stuff at this point, this is really appreciated. I guess, before I move on, I should mention my opinion on each character, so here we go. Yap's design is fairly simple, all things considered. A pug with floopy hair and a brown bikini with a dog bun on it. But, and this goes for every character design, you can definitely see the FNaF 2 influence in them. If there's one official FNaF character I compare to these designs, specifically Yap and Yell, it would definitely be Toy Chica. Putting them side by side definitely puts into perspective how much love Miles has for the older FNaF games, even basing half the cast designs on a specific character. But that means something else. I don't really find these designs scary. But wait, I have my reasoning. Just because I find these designs cute doesn't mean I don't think they can be scary. In game, these designs do look terrifying due to the lighting and posing of the characters, all things considered. But in the extras menu, when they're well lit and in cute poses, you can't expect me to not find them goddamn adorable. I feel the same way about the toy animatronics as well, to be honest. But, for example, take Yip. She's a marmalade cat with print back thighs, which kind of reminds me of the Naruto character, and an orange bikini with a mouse on the top. Sure, she climbs on your window like a goddamn high schooler breaking into the partner's house at 2 in the morning, And sure, a jump scare reveals her eyes can turn red at will, which scares me to think about. But come on, do you really think in brighter lighting you're supposed to find this adorable little cinnamon roll terrifying? He even says she doesn't mean to kill you on her extras page. It's like he was trying to make her likable. And trust me, if anything happened to her, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself. I gotta protect this ball of fur with my life. Anyone who hurts her will die by my hands. I think I might be too attached to her. Anyways, let's move on to Bad Bad. Bad Bad is, unsurprisingly, a goat that wears a brown checkerboard shirt with puppy shoulder pads, a blue skirt, and a bib. According to the excerpt about her on the extras menu, she's sort of the replacement for the daycare attendant from Security Breach after Fazbear and Timmy got complaints about him being creepy. I don't know if Fazbear has seen the internet in the past 4 months, but trust me, I don't think it was a smart business decision to get rid of him. I mean, have you seen the fan art? But, jokes out of the way, I do really like her design. I think the pastel blue color palette makes her feel more child-oriented, which makes sense for her character. Val's design is meh. Yeah, me and Miles agreed that her design is very lackluster. She's a rabbit with visual similarities to Vanny that wears overalls that have carrot accents. I just feel like her design doesn't really do it for me. The other designs feel really unique and original with a lot of small details that go into them, but Val is just whatever. Now, it doesn't mean I think her design is bad. I just think it needs work. And I hope you'll be happy to hear that she is getting a slight redesign of the sequel, which Miles has shared with me. I can't show it here for class reasons, but rest assured it is significantly better than the first. My last comment on her is that when she stares into my soul, I freeze up like a victim of Medusa. But now we get to the final character design. Yell. You know, creepy faces have always unnerved me, to say the least. Whether it be the inhuman smiles or big black dead eyes staring at you. You know, if those eyes were human at one point, they definitely aren't now. One series I think does this really well is Mandela Catalog. I feel as if some faces in that series are just in the middle of the uncanny valley. Human enough to be recognized as such, but just unhuman enough that you can tell something is clearly wrong. I stumbled upon it before it was popular, and Jesus did scare me. No pun intended. Yell perfectly simulates this feeling I felt when I first watched MC. The fact that a vaguely humanoid face is being projected on this, what used to be a cute character, is now completely cloaked in shadow body, with only eyes and teeth curled into a smile visible. The first time I saw this, it made me feel, above all, dread. Her first appearance is in a minigame where her face is displayed front and center, but there's something that's different about it in particular, and that's its expression. She appears to be frowning. With these sorts of faces, they're always displaying a face of joy or, in rare instances, faces of anger or fear. When I look at this face, all I see is just sadness, complete anguish. Even though I'm supposed to be scared of this face, and trust me I am, I feel sympathy for it. It shows who or whatever this entity is. Probably, it's in constant agony. After all, like her ex page says, she just wanted someone to play with. Which tells us that she's probably lonely. Hell, even the only night she's active has a name that describes her perfectly. Night Eidolon. Wikipedia states, in ancient Greek literature, an eidolon is a spirit image of a living or dead person, a shade or phantom look-alike of the human form. This thing is human. Once it was alive, living freely among her friends and family. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so serious. By the way, Carberry Risley, if you ever see this, that was my pitch for writing FNaF stories. So if you're interested, please hit me up.
Oh, these are pretty cool bananas.
But seeing this well-written story, well-rounded gameplay, and well-made graphics really made me want to meet the man behind the mask, Miles Games. So, how is he? Well, really nice actually. I did an interview with him on Discord and we got along pretty well. Of course, every lore-related question I've asked has been answered with only the most cryptic answers you've ever seen. But he's been really helpful in structuring this interview, getting songs and sound effects from the games I'm going to use, and even making full renders of his character street using this video, which I'll show on screen now. But yeah, we got to know each other and found out we had a lot in common. At the writing, I think we've become pretty good friends, which is crazy since I'm here to an interview. But, that being said, I think it's about time we wrap this up. Ah! So here I'll draw my final thoughts about this game, its future, and the creator of said game. In my opinion, I think it serves as somewhat of a tribute to the older FNaF games, and, unless other people begin making games in the style, a good send-off for that style of fan games. In my opinion, I think this game would have made a great release to celebrate FNAF's 8-year anniversary, but this game was finished earlier than that. It feels almost like a more solo UCN to me. A combination of mechanics from past FNAF entries, the well-written but easy to understand story that would fit really well into FNAF with canon, the designs of the characters that scream 2014 FNAF, and even slight details like JJ's head being hidden in the office, and the puppet's mask also being hidden. Everything just clicks for me here. And, side note, I think this was a perfect candidate to kick off this series. It pretty much perfectly fits the description that I gave in the intro. Think about it. Miles worked on this game for months, designing characters, maps, gameplay, and writing a plausible story. But it only has 544 followers on GameVisual and only has a handful of videos on YouTube, which will probably increase by the time this video comes out, of course. It just feels like well-made games that are usually simpler will get swept under the rug by games that are more recognizable. That's why I'm making this series in the first place. These days, people want to make these games more realistically or highly detailed, which I don't mind, but it's nice to have a game that returns to the older style of fan games to tell a new story. After Security Breach, I think we all needed a return to form. My final rating is 5 climbing yips out of 30 sleep paralysis demon dolls. Now, of course, this game was really interesting to check, and I think I can say it's one of my favorite fan games I've ever seen. But my only question is, will Jerry's Tale and the others be able to keep up?